This is a family meeting, all right? This is a family meeting. I don't need to shout. Am I okay? As such, what I would ask of all of you is that you tell 10 people. If you've heard something that's useful to you, tell 10 people. We have a young man over here. My grandson was running in and out over here. These are the folks we're concerned about. These are the people we're here to talk about, to generate this information on behalf of them. Virgil, a Roman poet, he was considered to be the greatest Roman poet. He was born in the 19th century BC, and what he said was, your descendants shall gather your fruits. So those are the ones that we're here to talk about. Those are the ones we're here to help, as well as all of the young people in the room here. I want to say one thing also on behalf of young people, and that is for elders who judge but do not teach, lose the right to preach, all right? So we need to understand that so that we can kind of bring this community together, because we have the young people who are turned off. They turned off their hearing because they get tired of hearing the same things. They get tired of hearing us judge them and distance ourselves from them. And we do that when we start to say, well, back in the day, they don't care. They don't care about what happened back in the day. Can you touch their lives today? Can you tell them something that's meaningful to them today? And that's what we're here about. The other thing I want to say is I learned a lot being here. There's a lot to share. The fact that we are underrepresented in high school graduation, that we're underrepresented in high school graduation. Let me tell you where we're not underrepresented. I was in Harlem Hospital on a Saturday night in June, about 2 or 3 years ago, and we are not underrepresented in gunshot wounds. We are not underrepresented in stabs, in deaths of young people on a Saturday night. And there are lots of other places where we're not underrepresented. We may even be underrepresented here in this gathering today, but because you're going to take this message out, I have confidence that other people will hear. But we have to get underrepresented in Harlem Hospital's gun unit. We have to get underrepresented in gang violence. We have to get underrepresented in domestic violence and in substance abuse, chemical dependence, because we're overrepresented there. I work in a system where child welfare, children getting hurt, abused, and neglected, we're overrepresented. So today's message and the people that I heard from, I'm very grateful for all of that. The gender disparities. I was a teacher in Head Start, became an ed director in Head Start. I've worked in multiple systems. I currently work in child welfare, formerly worked in domestic violence, substance abuse, and mental health. And what I can tell you about Head Start is that a Head Start classroom intended to give our children a leg up on the process of education. We have blocks, and that's where you learn spatial concepts and where people learn beginning math concepts. And we need children playing in the block corner. We need girls playing with blocks and using puzzles, because math develops through all of those things as well. Scientific process and thinking, all of those things are nurtured through those early learning experiences. So if we think that children just go to school to play, it's about learning also. So those experiences tell me that some of the gender disparities start very early on, and we can correct that. Because at Toys R Us, you won't see blocks, right? And you won't see a whole lot of puzzles. And children can learn abstractly through computers and other things, but you learn through experience. And those experiences that they have early on will help to put more girls into a track where they can become mathematicians and feel proud of knowing something about math, or going into the areas that have to do with science. So I'm here to wrap up a lot of things, but I just wanted to make that plug. As we start to look at what it is we want to do in education, let's start early. Let's make our message one that young people can hear, that's meaningful and supportive of them. I have a couple of things I'm going to add to the discussion very quickly, and because we're talking about bridges, it's very important to think of what education means to us. And we've talked about poor places and places where opportunities have been limited. let me tell you where Head Start started. In the places where it started, for example, there's a film called A Chance for Change. And people built their own school. They came through the woods and they built their school, and they went through the community to get the things they needed to bring education to their kids, because they saw that that was a chance for change. And I hope that that's part of how we're feeling about education. It's a chance for change. I won't define for you what the change needs to be. You can do that. But it's important for us to understand, what can education do for us? It can't just be for someone else. The important thing also is that it has to be here and now. This conversation can't be about what happened in the past or what's going on in the future, because we don't have either one of those. We have what's happening right now. And in that regard, if we look, because we can be lulled into complacency just thinking about, well, I'm just weighed down about thinking about the future or going back to the past. What's happening now is that Manhattan may soon be underwater, right? We need scientists, we need mathematicians, we need policymakers that understand that urgency. We have people living in this city who have what they call food insecurity, do not know where their next meal is coming from. And with that, you have to say, well, wow, somebody's asleep at the switch. We should be talking about how to feed people. And we have food programs. What kind of food do you get at a school lunch program? It's going to be a vendor that was a competitive bid that got you the cheapest lunch, not the best lunch, right? So our kids are being poisoned with food that's not good for them. There's luxury housing all over the city of New York while people are living homeless in the streets. So you say, we need to educate people so that they can represent us in the places that make change happen. When should it happen? Right here and right now. We need the kind of leaders that say, look, we look at the congestion, the air pollution, the fact that this large city is poisoning the people that live here. And we need those engineers. We need people with transportation plans and studies that lay out a blueprint for change. That's what it's about. It's about here and now. Now I'm going to say something about the other part about personal responsibility. Everybody wants to get to the finish line. I want to be the superstar. I want to be the one that cashes in on that big paycheck. I want that big payday. But we fail to train, and we fail to run the race. And in this society, you can easily have a virtual win, can't you? You can make it happen on a video game. You can make it happen in your imagination. But the idea is, you don't get to the finish line in a responsible way unless you train and unless you run the race. So those are the two pieces of my message that I won't beat you up with it, but it's got to be here and now. We are rapidly, as a country, becoming a third world nation. When you think about literacy, when you think about where is our clean water going to come from, those are the issues. But what we have thrown in front of us, which is that distraction, and that's what I learned from the previous presenters, focus is everything. And with my business, I have a business separate from my academic business and separate from my professional work, and it's called 747 Seminars. And in it, I teach people how to be in the here and now. I talk about focus, plan, prepare, act, and evaluate. No one is a failure. You learn from experience. I went on a public policy committee for a professional organization. I said, I want to change policy. I want to make things happen. Guess what they gave me to do? I stuffed envelopes. And stuffing envelopes was a valuable experience, because when I needed to lobby for something, I knew how to stuff envelopes, right? So we think certain things are beneath us, but what we have to realize is it's all part of what we need to get where we want to go. Focus, plan, prepare, act, evaluate. Make it happen for you. Then you can make it happen for somebody else. We all the time, sometimes we're out there for everybody else but ourselves. And I'm here to tell you that this is an independent, individual journey. And we heard stories of people who very personally encountered the struggles of what that journey is like. You have them as your mentors. And because they've stopped to teach you or share their story, they can preach. Don't let the other ones preach to you unless they teach you. I want to close by telling you a couple of my mentors and people that influenced me. Mary McLeod Bethune. Does anybody know about her? She was an educator. Because my background and training is in education, I received the Mary McLeod Bethune illuminated scroll from the National Council of Negro Women. And it was the proudest moment of my life. My mother was there, who knew of the work of Mary McLeod Bethune, who was an educator, who opened a school with $1.50. And they say $1.50, I might be exaggerating, but the idea was that she made that $1.50 selling sweet potato pies, opened a school in Daytona Beach, Florida, the first school to educate black students, and she rented a home that was $11 a month. And if she did that in the early 1900s, what is stopping us, right? So it takes that motivation and drive. And she was very important in my life as a role model. And having received an award that had her name on it, I can't imagine another honor greater than that. The other person, George Washington Carver, found alternatives. He was a botanist. He was a scientist. He was also, a little known fact, he was an artist. And he exhibited at the Chicago World's Fair. It was in 1893. He found alternative crops to cotton. And the alternative crop, who knows what that alternative crop was? Peanuts. There were over 300 uses of peanuts. And he did these things, and he had that varied background. And the arts are so important. They took the arts out of the school, so you have to struggle to get your outlet for that. But as you become the doctor, the lawyer, the entrepreneur, whatever you become, be, as these folks have told you, a well-rounded person. The arts are important. I need your song. I need you to feel like you are the superstar. Don't let anybody tell you different. If they say you got too much arrogance or too much you're thinking about yourself, don't take that. You have to know who you are. You have to know you can achieve. That's how you get forward. That's how you go forward. Don't worry about stumbling over words. I've done spoken word. I've done a lot of different things. I continue to do it because you need to do it. Your soul needs to do it. You need to identify with your generation. You need to identify with your message, and only you can deliver it. I stumble over words means nothing. I heard your message. So it's important for us to take and embrace our young people, to see opportunities like this. It doesn't matter how many seats are empty here. You take the message back to your community. Communities are there because we are there. They exist because we exist. And if they fail because we have failed. Lastly, today in America, people are hungry. Some are without work. There's violence and poverty. When jobs get scarce, people turn on each other. We set the stage for family violence. And what I challenge you to be today, through education, through your heart center, through your passion, to be a community of healing. To be a community of healing. You know in the month of April, Child Abuse Prevention Month, 6 infants died at the hands of abusers in the city of New York. That's a travesty. And it's not that you and I can individually stem the tide there, but we have to start the ball rolling. That's saying that new ideas, children are new ideas, that we don't welcome new ideas, that we destroy new ideas. And that's a very stark and tragic reality. So we have to educate ourselves to say, if people are hurting kids, we have to be a part of trying to educate so that we move away from that tendency. This is what the first thing that I learned about child abuse is when adults are stressed, children are at risk. And what could be more stressful than the society we live in right now? So to become that community of healing, we have to just be aware and we have to take a stand. I want to close with the song that comes right after that one. That's number 4. I think it's number 5. This is Jimmy Cliff in the 80s playing this music, and he was sending out such a powerful message. Education can be a bridge. What he's saying, dance. You know, like, you look at that like,